welcome to the BrandAI podcast. I'm your host, Lenka. This is the show for digital agencies and innovative brands focused on predictable growth. We deliver the AI solutions and systems required to streamline client acquisition and automate service delivery, ensuring you are maximizing your capacity to scale. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Caroline Hope Light. Caroline is the founder and director of the Lighthouse, where she blends her deep expertise in marketing and advertising with a passion for executive coaching and business advisory. Having spent years in the corporate world, Caroline now helps leaders and business owners achieve their full potential, focusing on the powerful intersection of human-centric leadership and effective customer engagement. She is an advocate for designing a life that fuels your business, not the other way around. And she even runs a global business while prioritizing her family life here in Sydney. We're going to dive into why care is the most powerful KPI, how to truly lead a team, and how she's using AI to transform her coaching practice. Caroline, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lenka. That's an incredibly generous intro. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Happy to have you here. Let's dig in. What was the biggest driving force behind your decision to leave the corporate world and start your own coaching and consulting business?
It's an interesting intersection of things. So I loved being a corporate professional. Absolutely loved it. I worked and lived all over the world. I'm an expat. I worked for some of the most iconic ad agencies back in the day. Fan of Mad Men. So I worked for Ogilvy, Saatchi, McCann, BBDO, and many others. And that was the life I lived, and I relished it. And what happened to me along the way was I grew up a little. I became a mum. I had a family of my own. And also, I believe if you're not growing, you're dying. So I was growing in different directions, and advertising marketing fed those almost in entirety for a long time. I mean, I got to meet some unbelievably talented, flamboyant people along the way, but my path was diverging a little. And so I was seeking different things. And a big part of stepping into who you're becoming is actually that self-awareness that you're on a change trajectory. And that very much happened to me. It was happening on and off. It happened firstly when I started my own ad agency with a great creative director. And then I went back into the corporate world and I became a mum. And then there were signs along the path until it really became a roar, not a whisper, about 4 or 5 years ago. And I was surrounding myself with startup founders and more entrepreneurial thinkers as often as I could. Again, there's a clue, life dishes out the breadcrumbs. We just have to be open to see them. I started thinking a lot about my childhood. My dad was an entrepreneur. He had his own business my whole life. So I'd seen firsthand the freedom, the flexibility. Yes, also the stress that you sometimes wear when it's your own thing. It was just a very natural leaning into that next phase of my journey and my life. And I believe when you have marketing skills, you're set for life. They bode incredibly well for anything new that you're doing. But I didn't want that to be my mainstay. And that's very much how coaching and leadership and allowing others to become my day job, with marketing always there in the wings as I was building something pretty much from scratch and from the ground up.
Thank you for the inspiring journey. You talk about care being the essence of customer acquisition. Can you define what genuine care means in a marketing space?
Well, firstly, I have to give Gary Vee credit for that quote. He says it's the most potent marketing strategy you can ever apply. And it's simple. It's 4 letters, CARE. I think in today's world, so many people have become metric focused, performance focused, report focused, that they've forgotten that behind all of those numbers, and I'm not dismissing the importance of tracking, measuring, and truly understanding how your dollar's performing. Behind all of that is a person. And it's not just your audience. It's actually you as someone living, embodying, feeling empathetically your brand every single day. And once you pare back the outcomes, the end point, and start going, well, walking in the shoes of my customer, how would I want to be engaged with? What would be a caring, meaningful exchange right now? And this applies no matter where you are in the marketing funnel, right? From the first interaction to, ongoing, once they are a customer, actually engaging with them ongoing. It doesn't matter. It's the fail-safe, right? And it's less about an intellectual, am I being caring right now? And more about going back to the basic human level of, does this feel right to me? Is it significant to me that this outreach happens in the way that it's happening right now? Does it feel like it's less about the desired outcome and more about making that customer truly feel special, truly feel seen? In my coaching world, I talk a lot to individuals about the fact that when you strip it all away, going back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs almost, all any person truly desires is to be seen by another, right? And that's where care begins. It's actually having someone pause, draw breath long enough to see you as a customer, as a human. And so that's what I mean by that approach. It's not necessarily something that I hear spoken about around boardroom tables. It's all about, well, what was the dollar spent? What's the KPI? Did we hit it? Where can we improve on the pipeline? But when you strip that all away, it's very simple and very human at core.
Love it. In your view, what is the fundamental difference between a manager and a true leader?
Well, that is a great question, and one that I think deserves a lot more time and attention than it's given. So leaders set an example. Managers create checklists and to-do lists and follow systems and processes. With leaders, it's almost effortless. They show up authentically. They show up with deep care, not just for those in their team, in their organization, but actually for their mission, for what they're doing. There's a far more purposeful element to true leaders, and they inspire without trying to. So again, you can make checklists as long as you like, but you can tell a leader at 50 paces. It's energy, right? And that energy is incredibly powerful. It's how startup founders, in a matter of a few years, build multi-billion-dollar businesses. I worked for a number of startup founders when I was still in the corporate domain, and I've never forgotten a message that I read from one of the oldest employees to one of those startup founders. She wrote, and I'm quoting verbatim here, and this was at a juncture that the business was expanding monumentally. It was a massive, bold leap forward, right? Audacious as hell. And one of the first staff members wrote, I'm in. I would follow you to the moon and back. And that to me just summarizes what a leader is. I actually got goosebumps as I said it. I mean, in my coaching world, we say to be a leader, you have to have a follower, at least one, if not many. And that to me defines what a true follower is, no matter what it is. Scary, audacious, never done before, never even thought about before, category defying. There are people who follow you. And there's a great quote as well from the movie Jerry Maguire. It's an oldie but a goodie, I know, where Jerry's going, who's with me? And there's no one except the one lady that he barely knows who gets up with her goldfish and starts flying out the door, and the relief on his face is palpable. And as they get in the lift, she goes, do you have medical benefits? And he goes, yeah, don't worry, I'll sort that out. So there we go, whether Jerry Maguire was crazy or a leader in the making, which ultimately I think the movie proved he was. It's a really tangible example.
Thank you. And I couldn't agree more. I was lucky enough in my career to work with a couple of founders that became my mentors till today. And they are leaders that, yes, I would follow them exactly as you said. They very good. Just believe that they're there for me, and the care that they changed everything for me from the employment point of view. What is the most common mistake you see leaders make that completely erodes trust within their team?
I think it's trying to be a leader. It's trying so hard to show up as a leader. There's doing and then there's being. And true leadership is very much an act of being. Leaders aren't perfect. Humans aren't perfect. We all make mistakes. So long as we're making them authentically and with a deeper intention, a deeper purpose, people are very forgiving. You just have to own your mistakes. So I think I often see, a quest for perfection. No one's perfect. I see leaders sort of distancing themselves from their people. And therein begins the beginning of rot in companies, in my view. Leaders walk amongst the people. I mean, Simon Sinek says, he wrote a whole book on this, leaders eat last. There's a reason for that. People have to feel connected. They have to feel intrinsically that you are amazing, perhaps, but you're still one of us. And I think a lot of leaders lose that. They, lock themselves away. They're unaccessible to their organizations. And then they assume this mantle of I'm now a leader, so it's all got to change, forgetting what potentially got them there in the first place. True leadership is effortless. It is being in action. You're still just you. You may have more responsibility, but you're being yourself, warts and all.
And by the way, I love that book, Leaders Eat Last.
Yeah,
That's the best.
it's a goodie.
It is. You mentioned that one well-placed question can reveal everything. What is your go-to question for a CEO or leader when you first start working with them?
What's your purpose? Why are you here? Why are we doing this? Why are we even having this conversation? For me, it really starts at the core and it emanates out from there. Everyone has objectives. Everyone has business plans. Everyone has goals that they're shooting for. For me, if I don't feel a very natural, innate connection with the purpose, it's probably not a scenario that I personally can proceed in. And I also find it a very interesting question to ask because true inspiring leaders to me can answer it without thinking about it. And that I read Gail Kelly, ex-CEO of Westpac's book several years ago, right after she left Westpac. And she has, and anyone who's read the book would know this, whenever she got in the lift in the morning, going up to the top floor, wherever the exec suite was, at Westpac, whoever was in the lift with her, and it didn't matter. They could be senior, junior, they could be, office cleaners. She would say good morning and she would ask, do you know our Westpac vision and values? Okay. And she recounts early on that no one knew. And they would all look terribly frightened as she asked. And in the end, she realized, okay, well, you're the CEO now. So set them at ease first, because it's not a firing squad or an interrogation in the lift. It's literally just like a hello. But for her, leading with purpose and having that clear vision was so important that until every single person she asked in the lift knew it without having to think about it, she knew her job wasn't done. And what that meant for her was repetition, repetition, repetition. So every speech, every email, every address and every shift that she made in the business, she would integrate the vision, the values, the raison d'etre for being for Westpac into it until, and it took many months. She talks about her frustration, but then her joy as it started transforming. Eventually she'd get in the lift, set people at ease and ask the question, and their delight and joy at recounting their interpretation and understanding of the vision and values told her she was on the right path. Because when things go wrong, if you come back to what the lesson is and you link it to your vision and values, people are very quick to integrate that and continue supporting you. It's very easy when all's going well. It's when things go wrong in particular that element really makes a massive difference. I believe in standing on the shoulders of giants. I've read so many books. I've listened to so many successful entrepreneurs and business owners, and I'll probably recount a few more tales during this chat, Lenka.
Thank you. No, love it. You've designed your business to work around your life, which is very inspiring. What is the single most important boundary or system that you put in place to achieve that work-life balance you could share?
I love that question. Me time, simply. So I used to wear this as a badge of honor. I now see it very much as a coping mechanism that I wasn't aware of until I did the self-work. I have a voracious work ethic. I always have. And what that did for me over many decades was it actually chipped away at my core and left me feeling not just depleted, but less like myself, because it's a bit like no matter how much you give, it's never enough, right? And that particularly when you are used to being a high achiever, it chips away at your soul. It certainly did for me. And so a big part of becoming self-employed was to work in a more intentional way. And for me, that meant being present as a mother. We've chatted about this. I missed so many events over the years, and I really had to question that. I credit my daughter actually with getting me firmly entrenched on the path to self-employment because I had a deal with my last boss that I would pick my kids up from school every Wednesday, right? That was just, I would still work from home, and I felt really good about that. And what I realized was I picked my daughter up one Wednesday. She jumped in the car. I was on a phone call. It was pretty intense. So thrilled to be there to pick her up. And by the time I hung up the phone, it was 20 minutes later. And only then did I turn and say to my daughter, "Hi, darling, how was your day?" And she looked at me with no ill intent, just, from the mouths of babes. But babes, so much truth is spoken. And she said, "Mum, you're a workaholic." And I remember being initially defensive and then just kind of allowing it. I was silent. I didn't respond. I just allowed it to sink in and I went, "She's right. Here I am. I've negotiated this Wednesday pickup. I haven't even said hello to her and we're almost home from school. What is the point of that? That's not the mother that I personally choose to be. I chose to be a different kind of mother. And in that choice, I felt empowered to make some big shifts in my life. And they were very hard shifts. I'm a single mom, leaving the security and safety of big corporate salary. Yeah, it definitely felt like I was taking a massive leap of faith and leaning into something as yet unproven, unseen. But I just knew that where I was, I didn't want to stay there anymore. I didn't want to be that version of myself. And so faith outweighed fear. I talk to my coaching clients about this. There really are only ever two, driving emotions, love or fear. And fear would have kept me trapped. Love, belief, faith, all those positive emotions allowed me to take that next step.
I love it. It resonates so much with me. That's one of the main reasons why BrandAI actually started. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for sharing. Very moving. Next question is a little bit of the AI. So people sometimes have hard time to understand that, not only big agencies and companies can use AI. I'm pretty sure you're utilizing it daily in your coaching practice as well. Can you share maybe just one specific practical way that AI is helping you day to day?
I use AI constantly, not just in my professional life, but in my personal life. So let's talk about marketing first. As a marketer, and I do work all over the globe, it's a massive insight giver and time saver. So, if I want to look at a particular region in Europe and I want to get my facts and figures straight, population size, predilection to coaching or self-growth, any of those types of things, I can get all of that spat out with the right questions. For me, that's the biggest lesson. Even if you've never used Gemini, and by the way, I taught my 77-year-old mother to use Gemini. The other day, Gemini is my AI of choice, and she's now obsessed with it and telling all her friends how wonderful AI is. So she's gone from the fear of, the robots to
Amazing.
I use AI all the time. So I believe at any age, anything can be learned, even if you've never used it. And I doubt there are many people on your podcast that fall into that category. It's very much about the caliber of the questions. And I use AI to go deeper. So if I get an answer that doesn't really resonate for me, I'll go, okay, let's try that again. And I'll sort of nip tuck it through ongoing questions, or it's almost like the snowball effect with questions. And it is pretty amazing what comes out when you do that. If you just stick with it. I'm always very polite to my AI. I'm not someone who swears at it or tells it I'm always like, "Oh, thank you. That's really cool. Now let's work together. Let's go deeper." So again, care, human, I know it is just AI in the wings, but I treat it. That was one of the things I loved about working in agency land, right? You were always round a table with people whose perspectives were different and rich and interesting and kind of somewhat crazy and left of field sometimes. So I think AI is almost like that new, creative sort of think tank. You can play with it and work with it and get to the point that you need to get to. So I use it very much in that lane way with marketing, with advertising. I'm a writer. I've always been able to write. I was very, very resistant about using AI to get my writing better. Let's just say a little bit precious, maybe. And now I love it. There are certain things when I'm writing fiction, I tend not to use AI, but anything fact-based or nonfiction, I mean, it's awesome. It'll take a quick voice note in the car and get you probably 80% of the way to a chapter. If not, why not? So that's the marketing space. And then With coaching, I do use it if I'm stuck or I can see a client has a particular area. Let's just call it maybe imposter syndrome, right? Which comes up a lot with leaders. If I've pulled out all the elements in my bag of tricks and I'm still feeling like there's more to be done, I use AI just to say, hey, I've tried this, I've tried that. I'm feeling like there's still more work to be done. Give me, 2 or 3 other options, exercises that I can roll out with this client. So they seem very practical, but they are life-changing because they enhance your confidence, they enhance the outcomes as well. But just in terms of time saver, for me, like I said, time for me is very important. I did not want to be glued to my home office desk or my dining room table all day, and I'm liberated through AI not to be.
Thank you. That's great. Before I let you go, I would love to ask if you could give one piece of advice to a small business owner today about where they should focus their energy for growth, what it would be.
I would say 2 things. Know why you're there. Really know, deeply know why you're there. And I want to make a lot of money isn't a reason. What value does what you're doing bring to the world beyond you, right? It's got to be a bigger picture vision. So really, really drill down on that. And if you're not sure, work with a coach, work with a mentor, call in your figurative board of directors who may just be your mates who'll tell you the truth, and really dig deep, know why you're there. And then the second is never, never, ever, ever surrender. The people who walk through the flames come out the other side. It's so important. Napoleon Hill, don't stop, 6 feet shy of gold. Don't do all of that legwork and then give up in favor of the next shiny things. Be a stayer. Be someone whose discipline defines you and whose habits dictate the course of your life and your success.
Love it. Thank you so much, Caroline. That has been incredibly inspirational, and I genuinely enjoy our conversation. If someone in our audience wants to learn more about the Lighthouse or, get in touch with you, what would be the best way?
Yeah. And Lenka, before I do that, and I will give all the details, I want to acknowledge you because you've taken a leap as well. You're living the entrepreneurial life right now. You're a mum like me. And, you've done that first most significant thing. You've made the decision and you've started. And it's really just progress over perfection every single day from here. So I wanted to acknowledge you and just give you that shout out. So yes, if anyone wants to get more from me or hear more about my approach, my website is www.thelighthouseSydney.com. Don't get the Sydney on the end. I do work globally, but I'm based here in beautiful Sydney. And you can find me on LinkedIn. It's my full name, Caroline Hope Light. You can either search that or just search The Lighthouse. Thank you so much for having me, Lenka. I've really enjoyed the chat.
Thank you, Caroline. And you can find all those links and resources down in the description below. To all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember to subscribe and review, and we'll be back soon with another interesting topic.